You're listening to The Real Fan Review with Hav, Sanj, Al, and B.
What's going on, podcasters and YouTubers? This is Hav here, one of your hosts from The Real Fan Review. Today with me, we got our man in the chair, Al.
How's it going, everybody?
Yes, sir. And unfortunately, no Signs, no B today, but they'll both be back next week. They're all taking care of things. So we're going to get into a bunch of news this week with the Scarlett Johansson saying she's got to pass on a torch here to Florence Pugh. We're going to go over this pandemic survey that they did over the last 2 weeks there. And also we're going to talk about the Old Guard that just came out on Netflix. So we'll get into that today. So let's just get right into the news, Al. First of all, man, there was this pandemic study done. People basically watching movies from home because the movie theaters are closed. And one of the questions that they were asking, Al, was, how have you been watching movies? Have you been buying movies? Have you been not buying movies because of their pricing or because you think they lack quality? And then they went into some other questions. So before I get into those other questions, Al, I know myself, I bought You Should Have Left, Scoob, and also I think there was one more, and I can't remember the name of it right now. But there was definitely three that I got. Scoob, Should Have Left, and geez, I can't remember the other one. It was recently too. But anyway, so there was three for me, man. And I don't know about you, but I do feel like the quality of those movies, some were good. I can see why they were okay with them putting them out to, like, mainstream, through the, through the video on demand, Netflix, Amazon, Hulu, those things like that. But I do agree with a lot of the things that they were saying, which was, I think if the prices were a little bit less for those type of movies, I probably would have bought a bunch more. I would have probably took a chance at Trolls. I would have took a chance at a couple of other ones. How about yourself, man? Did you buy a couple movies during this last couple months here in quarantine?
Yeah. Interestingly, it was the same amount, 3. We did Onward when that came out.
Onward, that was the one I couldn't remember. Yeah.
We did Invisible Man because when that came out, my wife wanted to really watch it, so we got that one.
Right.
And then You Should Have Left. So we did those 3 because based on the preview, my wife and I were dying to see that one, so we got that one. But I kind of agree with you on the price. If they came out, I mean, it's funny to say $5 can make that much of a difference, but I think if they were around the $15 mark, I don't think it would have stung as much, especially since you're having to say, well, why are these? Because I don't know about you, but that's the question that's always in the back of my head. Everybody's pushing their movies that they know are going to make money.
Right.
Why are they putting these movies on demand? There's got to be a reason why they're willing to take that chance of putting them on demand as opposed to waiting like everybody else is.
Right.
So that's what's been making me hold off on saying $20.
Absolutely. Yeah, man, because I think about even like Trolls, and also there was a couple movies, The Hunt. I waited till those movies came out on Redbox, or they were a little bit less pricey. I wasn't going to pay $20, $25 to see those movies that I was iffy on. Now, after watching The Hunt, I probably would have paid for The Hunt. But the other movies, I wasn't giving it a chance because I didn't want to spend that money. The Boy 2, I think, also came out, and I'm like, no, I'll wait for Redbox or when it's a little bit lesser. But if these things were even $10, forget it. It'd be nothing, right? You just go ahead and do it. And it's funny because I know Brandon kind of mentioned to us, if we had gone to the movie theaters to see these movies, we would have paid $18 for these movies, And the one purchase I think that I've actually done good with is Scoob. And I bought Scoob for $20 and I own it. I think, no, it was 20 to rent it, 25 to own it. And I did the 25 to own it because I figured my kids would watch it over and over again. And that's exactly what they did. They watched it 4 or 5 times a day, for a point there. And now it's one time every other 2-3 days now. But right now, I do feel that if the price point was a little bit better, I would buy more. But at $20, you're making me rethink and think about whether it's worth it to even try it or just wait,
Yeah. Especially I don't know about over at your house, but if my wife doesn't like a movie, she's not like me. I will push through a movie because I'm gonna finish that movie. No matter how bad it is, I'm gonna finish that movie. My wife, if it loses her interest, that's it.
Done.
Bye. So, can you imagine spending that kind of money and then you don't like the movie,
Right.
and you leave halfway through, or not even, maybe 5-10 minutes in, and you've spent that kind of money, and that's more than the price of a ticket you would have paid if you went to the theater, and you're not having that whole experience.
Yeah, man, absolutely. And then that goes into the next question. A part of the survey was because they're not sure how long this pandemic is going to be going through, especially not with a bunch of states. You see the numbers going up all over the place, and they're thinking that some theaters may open, some theaters may not. But the ones that do open, they're not going to put out a release like Tenet or Black Widow if half the theaters are closed and half of them are open. They're going to wait till everything's opened up at one time, and then they'll release the movie out. So they're saying right now, with the numbers that are going on in California, Texas, Arizona, now it looks like South Dakota is going up also, a bunch of different states. They're saying that they're going to close the theaters down even now till maybe fall. Some people are even saying maybe even to 2021 until something comes up with the vaccine. If that happens, they say that studios are thinking about putting some blockbusters out there to see what happens. And I'm sure Marvel's not going to be the first one to dip their toe in there. So
No.
But what they asked the people was, would you be willing to pay more if it was a blockbuster, like a certified blockbuster, like Marvel or DC or something like that? So, I mean, I don't know. Al, would you be willing to pay a little bit more than the 20 that you're paying already, or no?
If I knew if it was one of the bigger movies, like if it was a Black Widow, if it was Tenet, I mean, even maybe Wonder Woman. If they were to do the 20, even a 25, but they'd have to say, like, you get it for a 48-hour window.
Right.
Like, give me a little bit longer time, because you've already got my money, and whether I stream it in my house multiple times, it's not like, whereas in the theater, they lost that seat multiple showings. Like, I've already streamed it. That's it. You've already got your loss for whatever I do after.
Right.
Let $25 and you get a 48-hour window. So this way, if I rent it on a Friday night, I got it till Sunday night. If I really like it, I can watch it. It gives me time to rewatch it again during the weekend. Or say the family can't all get together that Friday night, I can still rent it the Friday night, and then the family can watch
it. Yeah.
Exactly, and then the family can watch it like that Saturday, the Sunday, before the 48-hour window ends. If they were to do something like that for the blockbusters, I could see even with a $25 ticket cost, I would still do it.
All right, now you said $25.
Yeah, I'd go as high as 25. Any higher than that, I don't think I'd go.
No, so let's put this to the test. For Black Widow, Marvel's Black Widow, the next entry to Marvel Phase 4, first entry to Phase 4, $35.
Nah, you know why? Because you know why? Because now you're talking about $35. For that, I could have waited and bought it on Blu-ray when it came out and owned it and watched it however many times. Plus, I'm still losing out on the main reason we all go to the theaters. It's
do it together.
It was talking about it like last week, like looking at each other, like for those when those moments hit on the screen, and you're like, what? Like you want those moments. You wanted to share it with each other, and to spend more than double what I would have paid on a ticket. More than what I would have paid for it on Blu-ray, and I'm only watching it one time. Nah, I mean, I understand these guys got to recoup their money. They're taking a big loss right now and everything. But to me, if you do a little bit of a hit on each purchase, you'll get more than if you try to get more per purchase. Like I think they'll get volume. I think they might even get people buying it a second time if they went with a more reasonable price than if they tried to go full tilt with this 2025 or higher. I don't think they'll get as many if they just went less.
Yeah, I asked myself that question. I'm like, would I do $30 to see Black Widow? I'm like, yes. 35. I was like, yes. $40. I was like, ugh. So hopefully, Marvel see this and they're like,
no.
They got one, right? So I think the most I would pay is $40. I think even 45 I would consider, because it is Marvel, it is Black Widow, it's the next chapter, the next start of this Phase 4. I miss the movie, so I want to see all of it and all of this stuff. So, yeah, man, I think at 40, 45, I tap the line there. If they ask me for $50 for this movie, I'm no way. But $40, and I have to be able to see it like 2-3 times. It can't be a one and done or one 24-hour period. No, I'd have to be able to watch it. Hopefully, own it.
That maybe if they were to do that.
Okay.
If they were to do maybe like a little bit more, because you got to figure Blu-rays like what, $20, $25 nowadays, especially if you want to go ultra. If they were to do 30, 35 and say, you watch it today and it's yours. Because you got to figure if it's a real good movie, like some of these movies are, we were probably going to buy it anyway. So in fact, it comes out to the same as if we had watched it in the theater and bought it on the Blu-ray. So yeah, if they went $30, $35 but said it's yours,
right,
I might do it that way.
$40.
Yeah, maybe.
All right, we
have to say it was 30, but yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
man.
maybe that much. Like I said, because it's that at that point you're talking about. All right, it's the same as if I had watched it in the theater, waited, and then bought it when it came out. But now I own it right from day one.
All right.
Yeah, I like that idea. Hopefully somebody's listening.
All right, man. Well, listen, if anybody who's watching the YouTube or if you're listening to on the podcast, we would love to hear your opinion, your take on that. If you want, put a comment below. Let us know. If Marvel said you could watch it and watch it for 24, 48 hours, what's the most you're going to spend on that one-day video on demand there? Would love to know what you guys think. So just leave a comment below. Let us know there on that one. And speaking of Marvel news and stuff like that, there was a report that Scarlett Johansson is saying that she's passing the torch to Florence Pugh for a new franchise. Now, I didn't know personally we were going to have a new like Black Widow franchise. We haven't seen the new Black Widow movie, so we don't know how good Florence Pugh's, portrayal of the, Black Widow that she is, how that's going to go. So, I mean, what's your thought on that, Al? Have you seen a new or hearing about this new franchise that they're going to start up there?
I don't know if I'd have to wait to see the movie.
Right? That's why I said the same thing.
Because I hear you say Black Widow, I hear Black Widow, I'm thinking Scarlett Johansson. To me, I know they're trying to make it that she was one of like a whole sisterhood of assassins and everything that came out of this place and everything.
Right.
But I feel like that's after the fact because they decided to kill her off. And they saw, oh shit, people still are interested in Black Widow. So now they got to recover somehow. But I don't know. I'd have to. Yeah, this is one of those things where, if you ask me right now, I'm not.
Yeah, not for it. Honestly, I think they're a little too early on this one, man. They should have waited till let to see what the fans say about her portrayal or what her role is in it, because we don't even know if she's a Black Widow or what's going on with the story. So I think they just let that cat out of the bag a little too early. You know what I mean? Like, you don't want to tell people that they're going to create a franchise, because now in my head, Florence Pugh is definitely surviving this. I don't have to worry about her throughout the entire movie.
And she's a good guy.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about the fight scenes. You don't have to worry that if there's somebody that might have turned, that it's her. No, because she's the next Black Widow franchise.
Right. And hopefully it's one of those things where they're just like playing around with words and trying to get people interested in just saying nonsense. But most of the time, these guys, these actors and actresses, they mess up and just speak the truth because that's the truth, So it's hard to lie about it all the time and think about lying. So it's easier to just speak the truth. And that's probably what happened in that situation. So, I mean, I do think, again, it's still a little too early. I would want to wait till I see the movie first to see what her role is, what she does, how she plays it. I'm sure it's phenomenal, but I want to see it first before I hear anything about a franchise with the Black Widow. Because like Al said, Black Widow to me will always be Scarlett Johansson's portrayal of the Black Widow. You know, absolutely, man. Yeah. And then last on MCU news, I promise, no more MCU news. This is the last one. Comic-Con 2020 is online starting, I believe, July 22nd this year. It's online. And they're saying that MCU is actually saying that they're not going to be bringing the MCU. They're going to bring the Marvel stuff there. So they'll talk about some Marvel shows, some Marvel documentaries, some Marvel comics, and things like that. But as far as the universe itself, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, they won't be talking about anything on that in Comic-Con. So it's kind of a little bit of a letdown because also DC is doing their own thing. Now, granted, Marvel hasn't said anything about any kind of Marvel online thing, so we don't know what's going on there. But I don't know, Al. I mean, just for me personally, I think that's a little bit of a letdown for Comic-Con this year. It was one of the things I was looking forward to. I wanted to see something exciting with, Marvel. I'm sure there's going to be some other stuff that's going on, and so maybe some TV shows and things like that. But was really looking forward to seeing Marvel up there. Maybe release a trailer for Eternals next week or 2 weeks from now. What about yourself, man?
Yeah, same here. I mean, what I'm hoping this is like how DC came out with DC Fandom.
Right.
I'm wondering if somebody said, "Listen, let's come out with we have a much bigger universe. Let's do our own thing to rival that." So I'm hoping that's what this is more about, because otherwise it's making me a little concerned, because this is where Marvel should be coming out with all the hints about what's coming. Like, even if you're just throwing out like a little image of a poster or something along those lines, or like a little teaser clip of something maybe you filmed, but to have nothing other than the one or two that we do know about. It's got me a little concerned with these phases, and because they keep throwing little stories out. They don't know what they're doing here. They don't, we're all hoping for Fantastic Four. We're all hoping for mutant involvement and so forth, so that they can explain how the X-Men are coming in.
Right. Nothing.
But if you're telling me nothing, no teaser, no
even
images,
like a little news about Fantastic Four, something. Bring John Krasinski out there, Mr. Fantastic. Let's do it for the fans.
Even if you just put him on the stage as like someone to introduce. Like, you don't say anything. He's just like like he brings on Tom Holland.
Yeah.
Just the fact that you brought him out onto the stage to do the introduction, you'll have everybody talking for 4 months after. But why would they bring him on stage?
Exactly. Like, oh, what's going on? But like you said, I'm surprised because there's so many different things they could bring it out there for. Look, they got Shang-Chi filming right now. They got the Black Widow still to try to reinvigorate the people's interest into the movie. Eternals should have a trailer already out there, right? And still no trailer on that. So they could do so many different things. And they brought up Mahershala Ali last time with the Blade stuff, so maybe some more information. But just I do think they have something up their sleeves as far as maybe doing something later down the summer or maybe in the fall. But I don't know.
Are they going to be doing anything at Comic-Con? Are they doing anything for WandaVision, for Falcon and Winter Soldier?
They said nothing to do with MCU. Nothing.
Wow. See, that's what I'm saying. Like,
even with the Falcon and Winter Soldier, that should be coming out at the end of August. So, let's see. Hopefully they change their minds, or it's, like I said, there's usually something else up their sleeves where they'll probably bring out something, because I think they did their own like Marvel thing maybe 2 or 3 years ago. They did their own Marvel thing. Last year they were at Comic-Con. They did all that craziness with Thor: Love and Thunder and the Blade and everything like that. So maybe they're doing every other year too. So who knows? But we'll be on the lookout. If we hear anything, we'll definitely bring it up to you guys and talk about it on the show. Last bit of news out is Batman. Robert Pattinson's Batman universe, man. You sent me this story actually. And it was a interesting read. What they're doing is they're making Gotham again. So
but they're going to focus on the cops. Yeah.
Yeah. This time they're going to stay focused, not on the 12-year-old Batman. Jeez. So dumb. But listen, it's being done by HBO Max. And you usually can trust what HBO puts out there. We're talking Boardwalk Empires. We're doing all those shows that they do. And I heard that one of the people that's involved with the show is the one who wrote Sopranos, or was an executive producer for Sopranos. Also wrote and directed Boardwalk Empire. So those are great shows. And, the person who's in charge of all that, man, I mean, if they're doing that kind of work, they're going to take this pretty seriously. So I'm looking forward to it. Personally, I'm not sure exactly what's involved. I heard it's like the police department for the Gotham. And not necessarily that Robert Pattinson's going to show up as Batman, but it's in his world from that movie. So I don't know, Al, what's your thoughts on that?
It'll be an interesting take, because we've usually seen just Commissioner Gordon. We've never, and I think in Gotham there's some involvement with his old partner and so forth. So it'll be interesting, because I don't think they've really delved into how the police department became so corrupt. Because I know they've always referenced like Gotham Police was very corrupt. Everybody was
Right.
on a take and stuff. So, I mean, they've given everybody else in every aspect of the Batman history its backstory and so forth.
Right.
So, I guess it's time to give the whole police department, which as a whole was always like a character
Right.
in every story.
Montoya.
Yeah. So like, yeah, let's go into the story. Why did it become so easy for the police department to become corrupt?
Corrupted.
Why were there only such a few good cops in that? So yeah, you know what? In a way, as we talk about it, I'm making myself more interested in the possibility of the show and where they can go. So yeah, no, I think it was a good idea to finally put something like this out.
Yeah, man. I mean, did you ever watch the Gotham on Channel 5 or Fox 5? For us in New York, it's Fox 5. But
yeah. I think I watched half of the first season.
yeah,
and
same.
that was it. Yeah.
I probably watched it like maybe for 2-3 seasons, and I finally just gave up on it. You know, and I think this show, again, if it's written by people who are actually, caring for the characters and everything like that. What I just hope they don't do is like that whole villain thing like they did with this Gotham. They concentrated on the uprising of these villains, and it just never paid off. It felt like you were getting like the cheap, young version of the character, and you saw some semblances of what they were supposed to be in the end, but it's just not. It wasn't good enough. It wasn't really good. But there's so much story you could tell. I mean, you have all those crime families, the Falcones. I forgot the other families that were in Batman there, but I just think that if they really concentrate on the crime element, the corruption element, the government, and the police department, you got a great show going there. So, and then with the fear of Batman in the background, so you never know, it could show up.
Yeah. But it is cool because, I mean, if you believe some of these other rumors that Affleck is coming back, or at least that they're in talks to try to get him to come back, and that they're still going to have Michael Keaton's Batman in the mix once they do this Flashpoint. Like they said, depending on where they decide to go, it's making DC have some opportunities here, because if you make a multiverse where you have Robert Pattinson's Batman and that universe living, and then you have the one that involved Ben Affleck and his Batman with Superman and their history, and that actually still be canon, and then you bring back in Michael Keaton and his Batman's universe, they can technically have a bunch of movies that they can put out, and depending on which one they want to go for that time period, they can bring back a movie with a storyline that involves Michael Keaton's Batman and what he was doing in the time since Batman Returns. You can go back to an Affleck, even if it's just in other movies, kind of like what they were talking with
cameo
Cavill.
Kind of thing.
Yeah, just having them cameo in other people's movies just to keep the story going. And then maybe if the Snyder Cut proves to be good, then you can maybe do like another Justice League or something on that level. So I like the opportunities. I like the fact that they're exploring more of the story in these universes and giving everybody their cut. I mean, to even bring out the police department.
Right.
I'm just hoping that Robert Pattinson pulls off his Batman.
Right. Yeah. As long as it's good, right? If it's good and it keeps us wanting more, then give me that Gotham PD there. I'll take it.
Yeah.
And like you were saying regarding DC, man. I mean, at first I was kind of like knocking them for all the shit that they're trying to do, right? They're throwing so many things on the wall. It's canon, it's not canon, it's not part of the story, it is part of the story, and they're kind of like walking that line of not knowing what they're doing. But it seems like if they pull all this stuff off, they'll have different avenues of where they can go with the stories. Like you just said, they could do this plot line, they could do that plot line, and still have their own universe. We're all going to have notebooks to know which movie universe we're talking about. But it would be interesting. And also, like in the end of it, all we want is just good movies. It doesn't have to be a universe. It doesn't have to be connected. We just want good movies. So if you could put it out there, we'll watch it.
Yeah,
we'll definitely. Watch it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, man. Al, and listen, that's all the news that we have for this week. It's a little light on the news there, but good topics to talk about for sure. And listen, if anybody has any comments about any topic we talked about today, just leave a comment or give us an email at therealfanreview@gmail.com there. All right. And then, Al, for this week, man, we're doing a movie review. I sent a little text message there on Thursday to see if anybody was interested in watching The Old Guard, and you guys said yes. Now, if anyone doesn't know, The Old Guard is a film that's on Netflix right now, featuring Charlize Theron, and it's a comic book movie. Actually, it's based off a comic book that I've never heard of, and I'm glad I didn't know anything about it because I was pleasantly
Yeah.
surprised.
Yeah.
So let's just do a quick, like a spoiler-free. So with the spoiler-free review, Al, what's your thoughts on The Old Guard?
It was a interesting take on a premise that has been dealt with already in other movies. I mean, it's already explained in the preview, so I'm not giving anything away. You have a mercenary group of immortals; they can't die. But there's an interesting take on it. Like, so yes, they are immortal, but there's a twist on it, which I found interesting, and it added to the story as I was watching it. There's a lot of scenes where it drew you in and made you more involved because of the fact that, okay, yeah, they're immortals, but there's this twist. So even though there were certain things happening in scenes, you still had to pay attention. There was still an element of risk even for them because of that twist. And it made the story a lot better for me. Like, I went in and I had heard a couple of bad reviews going into into watching it.
Right.
Because I was definitely going to watch it. So I said, you know what? I don't care what I hear as of a review. This is a movie I already know I'm definitely watching.
Yeah,
so
same.
Let me just hear what people are saying. As long as they don't give spoilers away. If they start talking about plot or whatever, I'll skip it or I'll stop watching the clip. But let me at least see what their opinion on. And I was getting mixed opinions. But I'm glad, like I said, I'm glad I didn't listen. I'm glad I still watched it because I enjoyed it. I didn't agree with a lot of the negative reviews, the negative aspects of the reviews that I was hearing.
Yeah.
And it was definitely an interesting take. I would like to see them move forward. The ending leaves you not knowing if there is going to be an opportunity, a future, like further episodes, or if they just go in different directions, or what they're going to do with the story. But I like this world and I like their story, so I would like to see one if it's possible.
Yeah, man, and I'm going to have to jump on that as well, man. I mean, because I didn't expect much from The Old Guard. You guys know how I feel about these movies that are being released online and through Netflix. I always second guess it, just like Six Underground or Underground 6 with Deadpool's character, Ryan Reynolds there. I kind of saw why it was online and not in the movie theaters kind of thing. So I didn't have the highest expectations for The Old Guard. So sure enough, I started watching it and I was like, whoa, okay, let's see what keeps going here, because the beginning is insane. There's a scene in Sudan that's absolutely nuts. And then at the same time, the story itself was good. Even when there was an action going on, I was still invested in the characters and the story that was playing. And I just found myself just liking it more. Charlize Theron killed it. Kiki Palmer or Kiki, I forgot her name, but she's from Beale Street. But
Kiki Lane,
Kiki Lane, she was absolutely incredible in it too. And all the side characters, Jafar from Aladdin is in there killing it. And it was really good. The villain was good. Chiwetel Ejiofor is in there, and he killed it as well. He always plays a good role. He's a phenomenal actor. So whenever he's in there, you just watch him and like, wow. But he was good as well. And the story itself, we'll get into that in the spoiler part of it, was just really well. I mean, really good. There was something about it that just didn't make it like, oh, this is crazy. But it was good and it was exciting. You know what I mean? So like for me, like I have a rating scales of you need to see it, you should see it, you can wait for it or don't bother. With this one, I would say you should see it. Definitely should see it. I wouldn't say you need to see this because there's something about it. I don't know what. I can't put my finger on it. What's missing or what it didn't have in there. It was pretty long too. It was like a 2-hour movie there.
I don't know. I'm not sure. But I feel okay. And I like that for an action movie. They only used action to further the story. Like there wasn't any unnecessary fight scenes, or the fight scenes didn't go on
the highway just cause.
Yeah, exactly. And every character had their story explained as to, you knew what they were going through, you knew what their turmoil was, you knew what their motivation for still going forward was. And even with the twist in the plot, if you listen to that character when he tells his story or their story or whatever's going on,
Yeah.
it helps you understand what happens, and you get to understand every character's motivation for why they do what they do in the movie. So it's
Absolutely.
yeah. So for a movie that the same thing, I went in with a low expectation, and I'm like, I'm liking this because the pacing was good. There
Yeah.
was nothing that, I mean, I'm sure there's stuff that they could have done better here and there. But to your point, considering that it was a straight to Netflix movie,
Mhm.
it was better than the average straight to Netflix movie that I've come accustomed to.
Yeah, man. Netflix is killing it this year, man.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Five Bloods, Old Guard. I forgot
Yeah.
the other movies that were on there, but they're doing their thing.
Yeah. 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 I mean,
Oh,
Lovebirds
yeah.
was originally supposed to come
Lovebirds
out,
was
but
good too. Yeah, Lovebirds was good. Yeah. All right, man. But listen. Oh, and one last thing. If you have a 4K HDR TV and you watch this movie, it is ridiculous. There's scenes where it looks like I'm looking out the window watching these people talk. First world issues, like for real. Like
yeah.
it was nuts, man. 4K on that movie was ridiculous. But
Oh, man.
anyway, listen, that's our spoiler-free review of The Old Guard. We want you all to watch it, give it a chance. It's really good. And if you have Netflix already and you're still in quarantine, there's no reason you shouldn't watch this movie. So go ahead and give it a chance there. So we're going to get into our spoiler review. So if you haven't seen it, pause us, come back to us. Or if you don't care about spoilers, just listen on through. We're going to go into spoilers in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ow, man, this movie was good. This
Yeah,
movie was
kid.
so good.
Yeah, man. Like I was saying, there was so much in it that I was like, I'm glad that they didn't do more of.
Yeah.
Like they were able to tell, they paced it out, and even though it's not a long movie, I think it feels long because they got to tell so much of their story in it.
Absolutely. They told so
Yeah.
much of the story, yet left out some things, right? Because at
Oh
the
yeah.
same time, like they tell you we're immortals, but no real explanation as to why they're immortals, what's going on, what's happening.
Yeah.
Like I said, the first few scenes, I think there's a scene in Sudan where they go for their first group case, or like they meet up after a year or something like that. They haven't
Yeah.
been together. She
Yep.
went away. She didn't want to do any of this stuff that they do for a year. And then they link up together to do this one mission to save a group of girls, quote
Mhm.
unquote. And they find out it's a trap. And this is where you see their powers for the first time, when they're all shot up and it's bloody and it's disgusting. But then they get up, kick some ass. It was just
Yeah.
insane. You know, but again, they don't explain anything, and then they get into the story about how they've been living for years. And then they don't, and Charlize Theron doesn't even remember how old she is. It's just,
Yeah. No, and I think she's been around. Like she must have been around for maybe a thousand or more years, because
Absolutely.
remember she makes the joke that she was even worshipped as a god at one point. Yeah. So, but to your point, they never give you like. There's no explanation of how they got the powers, what
It just,
what it's
they just have 'em.
for.
Yeah.
They don't know why they have it. They don't know what the limitation of their powers are. You know, Charlize Theron's character Andy tells the story that sometimes your time is up, and even they can die. They don't know when.
They don't know when or why.
Mhm.
And then I also thought it was cool where they were basically saying it's almost like there's a limit of it, right? Because
Yeah.
when one of them loses their powers, that means someone else gets it. Because I think they were trying to indicate that Andy was losing her powers, and that's why
Kiki's character got it. Yeah,
yeah.
Nile.
Yeah. So Nile got the power all of a sudden. And I was just like, wow, okay, this is pretty interesting. And it just, even when they went and when Andy went and got what was his name, Nile? When they got Nile from the army base after they after she was about to be taken away for scientific studies. You know, their interaction on the plane, even dude, she just cold shot her in the head, dude. Like it's just ridiculous. It's just like, that's so disgusting. And then
Yeah,
just see it healing up, and she gets back up. And she's like, that still hurts. They're like, yeah, you still feel pain. You just don't die. You know?
Yeah.
So, but it also brought like good questions. Like, you know, if you are immortal and all you're going to do is just watch everyone you know, go through life and die, and then you just keep going on. And then there was one situation that was very real, which was a father watching I guess one of his son die of some kind of a cancer.
Yeah.
And he asked him to give him some of his powers, and he said he couldn't. He didn't know what he had. And he said, they'll hate you for it, and the look of their eye when they're disgusted by you and all that stuff. And it's just like, oh shoot, like that's the part of it you don't think. You think it's cool, oh, you live forever, but then you see all these other things as to why they hated it, Yeah. But but Al, let's just talk about the certain aspects of the movie. The story itself, man, you found it interesting and it kept your attention the entire time.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like I said, because I kept wondering at the beginning, I kept wondering how they kept getting found. Because I kept saying, they've been around hundreds of years. They should be the ones that know all these tricks and everything. Yet every time they go to a safe house, they keep getting caught. And then it made me start saying, like, something's up. Either one of them has something on them that they don't know about. Like, I was wondering what the thing was going to be. And then when you find out that one of them had turned on them, you're like, okay, yeah, that's the only way it could have been. Like, that's the only thing that made sense. So, and to your point, like, he was the one. Him watching his family die, and it led up to you understanding why he did it, because he said you're gonna live long enough to see everybody you love die. You're gonna stay that young person you are, but they're gonna grow old. They're gonna die. They're gonna hate you for it. And it made you understand why he then did what he did, because at this point he just wanted to die.
Yeah, he didn't even care. How about his punishment? His punishment at the end of the movie?
Yeah.
We'll meet you back here in 100 years.
Yeah, in 100 years.
That's a punishment.
Yeah, man. Yeah. But everything, it seemed like, it didn't seem, I don't know if I have no better way of explaining it. It's an obvious comic book movie, but it didn't feel comic booky. Even though you're talking about people that can't die, so obviously you're dealing with something in the realms of a comic book, but it didn't feel like a comic book movie. I don't know if it makes sense.
It just felt like a cool sci-fi adventure movie kind of thing.
Yeah.
Action, definitely action too.
Oh yeah, and I like that there was.
It was just here and there. Yeah.
They try to incorporate some of that John Wick type, especially the scene in the, where they're shooting, they're fighting, and all that, doing all that close quarter combat and so forth. But it wasn't for no reason. Like there was no scene that I can look at off the top of my head, thinking back to the movie, where I'm like, when that scene was playing out, I didn't know why it was there. Like it had no relevance. Almost every scene at some point during the movie was explained or explained the later scene. Like you understood why this scene or why these events were happening because of something from earlier in the movie. So I like that. I like that part of it.
Yeah, it was a well-written movie, man, because it definitely all made sense. The trap in the beginning, to them clearing their name or finding the people who knew who they were, then to finding, the bad guy at the end of the movie and their team. It was just absolutely insane. And then, we'll get to the cliffhanger at the end of this thing here.
Yeah.
But the story itself was fantastic. I thought it was really done well for a movie that I've never heard about, a comic book I never heard about. It was really done well.
Yeah.
The next thing we want to talk about is the heroes there, the actors, the main actors of the story there, which has to go to Charlize Theron, which, by the way, I put the movie on to show my wife, like, the HDR on this thing, because I was just like, this is incredible. And she's just like, oh, my gosh, she's just ridiculously pretty. And I'm like, okay.
That's Theron, what she looked at.
I forget the HDR settings. No. But, not for nothing, I know Charlize Theron does her thing, because in what was the movie she did with Bane?
Mad Max.
Mad Max. That she was incredible in that movie as I think it was Omarosa or something. She played something like that, or Furiosa or something like that.
Furiosa, yeah.
Yeah, and in this movie, she's the lead, and she kicks ass from the beginning to the end. Her character is strict, straightforward, doesn't play around. And it's just amazing. She just killed it in this movie. She definitely held her own, held her ground in this movie. And she made it work. She absolutely made it work. She delivered everything. She sold the movie, How about for you, man, Charlize Theron?
Yeah, same thing. I knew she had it in her, because I don't know if you caught that movie, Atomic Blonde, that she did. It was kind of along the same lines in terms of her being the center of the action in the movie. And to me, in my opinion, she pulled it off in that movie as well. So I knew she had it in her, but this side was more, to me, it brought out more of her she brought out more of the human side of the character, and you were able to see every aspect of this person's persona. Like you saw the leader side of her and how she had to be and act when she was the leader, but you also saw her soft side, like when she was talking about her the woman at the end of the movie that got put in the casket and thrown. I forget her character's name. But you see her emotion when she's remembering back, when she hears the others talk about the story. You see the pain and the hurt in her from hearing them tell the story.
Because you wonder why she's so abrasive, so stoic in the movie, and then you find out like why is she acting like a dick the entire time, and then you hear the story and you're like, oh, dude, I know why you're like this now.
Yeah, man. So. Yeah, no, she pulled it off, and I mean, she's a great actress. There's no denying that. She, in any kind of genre. I mean, she's done comedy, she's done drama, she's done everything, and I have yet to see her do a performance where it didn't carry her scene, like where it didn't do well. So, it's just a credit to her as an actress and a performer.
Yeah, man, absolutely, and the rest of the heroes too. I mean, like we said, the guy who turned on them. He played a good role. Like when he turned on the team, I forgot the name, the old guard. I guess the name of the team. When he turned on them, like Al said, you understood why he turned on them. All the stuff that he saw. They even did a flashback to his experience as being their father and being told to get out and not be around and stuff like that. But even the other couple that was in the movie, they were interesting as hell.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
To me, I've never seen a gay couple played like that in a movie. And I was so like, wow, awesome. You mentioned that they're a gay couple and it's no issue, no big deal, no nothing, just a part of a story. And they were fantastic and they were great. Yeah. Jafar kills it.
Yeah, man.
And when they're go for it.
I don't know if you're going to the scene in the truck where the guy says, "Who's this? Your boyfriend?"
Oh.
And he goes off on that
Don't belittle him with that name.
Exactly. Like how dare you just call him boyfriend? Like he's so much more. And then he goes on to demonstrate it was, man, it was
amazing.
That's what I'm saying. Like there was nothing in this movie that you could say, oh, they could have taken that out. Because it showed the bond between them and the fact that culturally, before they became lovers or friends or whatever, they were enemies. They were killing each other before
they said they killed each other a couple times in the years that they've been alive.
Nice. So man. So that's what I'm saying.
Did you notice their teamwork at the end when they were fighting? He would flip a gun, the guy would catch it, hit it. Oh man! And they were doing John Wick headshots.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Movies is if you just sit back and enjoy it and don't try to become one of these over analytical people and just enjoy what's being put in front of you. There's so many little things in that movie to catch on and enjoy and realize that they're putting a good story in front of you.
All right, man. And then one of the last things here, there's two last things we're going to talk about. So we're going to talk about the bad guys and the ending, and then we'll end the podcast on that one there. So the bad guy this movie is played, it's not really played by Chiwetel Ejiofor, because in the end, he wasn't really trying to be bad to me. To me, he set them up and he caused all this stuff to happen where they got caught and then they were treated like lab rats and everything like that. But his main focus was to try to find the people who were doing all this good, because in the end, he had this huge when you ever watch those detective shows where they have the lines going across on a board, he had one of those basically saying all the people that they saved and those people that they saved, what they ended up doing later on in life. And it always seemed to be a good, great thing that they did, right?
Yeah.
But the main bad guy, I don't know who he was. He was he's one of the main scientists or the main owner of this corporation. Even he was a little annoying and everything. Nothing special or major, but the organization as a whole, the bad guys, was interesting and it was cool.
Yeah.
I don't know if you found anything about the bad guys there for yourself.
I mean, he was over the top. Like they made him over the top, but I think because that's the only part. If you're gonna give it a criticism, it would be his character.
Maybe that's what the movie doesn't make it great, is the villain.
Yeah, because they went so over the top to label him as all of pharma and how they're bad because, of all these testings and what they're willing to do to come out with their product, the testing
Yeah.
and all this crap. I mean, to try to put all of that into this one character and try to have him embody all of that, as opposed to just having him be a greedy CEO. Like, to me, maybe that was it because he was a little over the top in some of the stuff that they had him doing.
I definitely felt like he was a dick, though. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was
Oh,
definitely...
yeah. But even with that, you understand he's the CEO of a major pharmaceutical company, and you're telling this person, I may have people that can help you come up with drugs that'll extend human life, maybe even cure death. You don't think that guy would do anything he can to get it and be the only one to have it? Because that was also part of his motivation, was so that none of his competitors got it. So
right, that was the big thing. The competitors not getting it.
Yeah,
and that's why he wanted all four of them. He wasn't happy with just having one of them captured. He wanted all of them. You know.
Yep. Yeah. So
and it's funny because at first I thought, like I said, the method behind the madness is he was trying to come up with these formulas to help people live longer, cure diseases, and do stuff, but it's the way that he went about it. And then the greed took over as well. So it's just like, okay, yeah, he's definitely the bad guy.
Yeah.
Oh, man. And then lastly, Al, we'll get to the end there. The ending, of course, we get the guy who turned on them. They stayed friends with him. They kept him as part of the team, but they did punish him for 100 years. He can't hang out with them.
Yeah.
But then,
it's like they put him on timeout.
They put him on timeout for 100 years. Yeah. and then the ending is one of these like little cliffhanger kind of things. Like Al had mentioned before, there was a friend for Andy, who's Charlize Theron's character, who was captured one time during the, I think, of the Witchem-Salem trials. Is pretty much what they were trying to insinuate.
Yeah.
So they captured one, and they kind of knew that they couldn't die. So this is torturous, dude. They drowned her, basically, in a metal suit, so all she's doing is drowning over and over again. So you're assuming that eventually she's going to die, right? If she keeps doing the same thing over, or she's going to be mad crazy when she's done.
Yeah. Or she's still at the bottom of the ocean, because they didn't know where she got thrown over.
Exactly. She said that she couldn't find her. She kept trying to look for her, right? And she just finally gave up. Now, the next thing that you see is that guy who got banned from them is walking into a house, and she's in there waiting for him. And it's just like, oh, shoot.
Mm-hmm.
And a part of me is like, okay, this is bullshit, one, because if she was ever alive, she would have gone after Andy at some point in time, right? Whether within the last 1,000 of years, at least one of those years she would have went after her, right? But at the same time, it is a cool thing to be like, oh, shit, she's alive after watching this whole entire movie. And now you want to know if you can see a second one to see what happens with that.
Yeah.
Me, personally, I'm completely in for a part 2 of The Old Guard. I'm there for it. I want it. I want to see it. Mm-hmm. Al, your thoughts on the ending there?
Yeah, no, that was a good twist because, like, they had you thinking she was still at the bottom of the ocean. I mean, even to the point where Niall, Kiki's character, says, "I hear her screams. I hear her. I feel her pain." So, like, it's made to make you believe that she's still at the bottom of the ocean, drowning.
Right. You can still feel her. Yeah.
So to see her out now, it begs the question: how does she get out? Does she hold Andy responsible for her being down there all that time? Is she upset that she never came to rescue her and find her? And
right.
So now does she become the villain of the sequel? Do they then, like that's why I said, like, I could see them making a couple movies out of this.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, man. So listen, you hear me and Al talking about this movie. We did a whole freaking podcast about The Old Guard, so it's pretty good. All right. So guys, if you're watching this, give a chance. Even if you just ruined the whole movie by watching us and talk about this, or listen to us talk about this, still catch The Old Guard on Netflix. It just came out on Friday, so please give it a chance there. And listen, man, Al, I thank you for today, brother, man. We're going to just end it on that one, man. Like, we went a lot longer than I thought we were going to do with just news in this movie. But listen, anyone who's listening to us, we thank you guys for, again, dealing with our little sound issues with using Skype to do recordings rather than recording together at one shot. So we thank you. You guys could find us at therealfanreview@gmail.com or you can just go to our website, therealfanreview.com. If you guys want to give us some kind of like maybe opinions or something you guys want us to talk about, we'll make sure we talk about it on the next episode there. Or if you're on the YouTube and watching us, leave a comment below. Let us know what you thought about the old guard or any of the topics we had today. And again, guys, we appreciate you listening and appreciate you guys subscribing to our podcast there. So, Al, man, I'm going to be out of here. We'll talk to you guys next week. We appreciate you. Al?
Have a good night, everybody.
Yeah, man. Good night for me, Hav, here in Long Island, New York. We'll talk to you guys next week. Until next time.